Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another random review. Today it's another modern film, can you believe it? From 2017. This is Revoir, Haut, or See You Up There, as in heaven, I believe. Written by, directed and starring Albert Dupontel, who is mainly an actor. He's directed a few films. This is a Korean Blu-ray from ARA. I have another one of the releases as well. I haven't really heard of them before. I mean, look at that lovely image. This is a film about two soldiers, two French soldiers, at the end of World War One. This release has some nice art cards as well. I mean, the Korean Blu-ray companies really know how to produce lovely releases. It's about two friends after World War One. One of them has had the bottom of his jaw blown off, so he wears lots of masks. And the masks are one of the highlights of the film. The production design is absolutely gorgeous and sumptuous, and the masks are both beautiful and, in a lot of cases, quite creepy. This film co-stars Nahul Perez Biscaré, Laurent Lafitte, Niels Aristrup, who you'll probably recognise his face, Emile Dequesne and Melanie Thierry. It does, if it reminds you of a Jean-Pierre Jeunet film, also A Very Long Engagement does spring to mind. Dupontel has actually been in a couple of Jean-Pierre Jeunet films, so that might be why. So it kind of looks a little bit like a Jeunet film. So these guys come back from World War One. One of them is terribly disfigured. They meet this young girl, and they decide that the one who's had his jaw blown off, they'll pretend that he's dead so he can live his life. And he's a bit of an artist. They meet this young girl and they come up with the idea of making money from selling fake war memorials, which obviously on the surface is a fairly morally dubious thing to do, but it's just the way they've been treated and soldiers treated after coming back from the war. They had a particularly sadistic officer who shot his own soldiers now and again. And this is another one of those films about coincidence and it being a small world. For this sadistic officer has married the guy who had his face blown off sister, and her father kind of runs this town, and he's looking for, wanting to donate to a war memorial. He's a very powerful man in business, and the sadistic officer has been stealing money and making his own fortune. He's cheating on his wife, so he's a thoroughly nasty piece of work. But of course, one of the submissions of the war memorial has come from his son, who he thinks, the family obviously think is dead, and the other guy ends up getting involved with that household. Because he pretends, or not pretends, but he tells him stories of the dead son and what he was like. And he gets involved with the maid of the house. So it's all interlinked and everybody's interlinked. The character played by Albert Dupontel is telling the story in flashback as he's been caught by the authorities, and he's retelling the tale. But again, this is another one of the films where you could argue the plot doesn't matter as much until it actually all reaches ahead, and it's actually more a film about the relationship between fathers and sons. The father of the son who's presumed dead is your typical, played by Neil Zarastrup, is your typical kind of gruff older generation who doesn't show emotion or doesn't show that he actually cares about his children. An intimidating character, and there's another father-son kind of revelation that I wouldn't get into, that again kind of kicks off the ending of the film. It's just wonderfully shot. It's about 117 minutes, so it's a little too long, as most modern films tend to be. But the production design's beautiful. There's obviously some CG work as far as some of the war scenes and things like that, but it's not obtrusive. And again, the masks that the artist wears are just absolutely gorgeous. But if you're not a fan of creepy masks, then it might not be the film for you. They do the relationship between the three characters, the two soldiers and the young girl that kind of helps them. That's done very well. The two soldiers don't always get on. They do fight and they do bicker. It's more kind of realistic that way. And the villain is a fairly nasty piece of work. I mean, he has his own motives, but he's obviously at heart a bit of a sadist. So it's a film that I hadn't really heard of, but I picked up because of this lovely edition. But it's a lot of fun and it's really enjoyable. And again, the production design and the way it's shot and the masks are just hugely entertaining, and really well done. So that's my review for Revoir, Haut, or See You Up There. It's well worth checking out if you can find it. So please let me know in the comments below if you have checked it out and you found it and what you think of it. And hopefully you'll join me again for more random reviews. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films saying farewell.